Okay, hello everybody, this is Sword here yet again with another Stormgate replay, and today we're going to be watching a replay of a game that I had versus jayxp. He is one of the top Vanguard players on the ladder. One of his accounts is, I believe, rank 33 on the ladder, so he's very good at the game. And he was also one of the best players in Battle Aces, I believe, as I think I fought him a couple of times in top ace over there as well. We're just going to be bantering a little bit at the beginning of the game because I've seen him in a lot of the discords for Battle Aces and Stormgate as well. So just going to continue that into this game. So in one of the recent patches, I'm not entirely sure when, but they buffed Harbingers so that they stun for 2 seconds rather than 1 second when they use Seismic Slam. And there are a few nice things about Harbinger Stun that compared to the Weaver Stun. Main fact being that it is a lot more mobile and that the stun is AoE. Obviously, the Harbinger doesn't do any damage by default, and it is significantly less tanky than the Weaver, but the AoE stun and the mobility is, I feel, really powerful. So we'll see how that goes later into this game. But for now, I'm just going to be opening up with a double vault opening, going to be getting a brute, just going to continue to look for the scout, and just going to play it a little bit more defensive. I could have tried to open up on the slimes and start creeping immediately, but I would just wanted to be a little bit more defensive and get 2 brutes instead. Just because I know Jay is very active and his micro with the scout is very good, and I didn't want to deal with it, to be completely honest. And there's no big rush for me in this game. A little bit sloppy for me. If you split the brute, then you can get the full white health, and it would have allowed my fiends to be a little bit more tanky. Going to be splitting off my brutes as well at the beginning of the game because I noticed that he hasn't taken his slime camp yet, or his health camp, so I figured he was doing a fast expand build, but it was a bad read by me, as you can see that he is building a few of the lancers here, going to be overcharging his bobs and starting up his expansion. And my fiends are going to be poking, but because of the bob overcharge, they're not going to be doing too much damage. I'm going to be running on top of these lancers and getting a bit of a surround, a little bit of sloppy micro by me, as only half of the fiends were doing damage. He's in the health camp, so he's a little bit more tanky, but without the upgrade and with the recent nerf to lancers, the fiends are doing quite a bit of damage, and I'm able to pick off the beginning units that he has. And also going to be poking into his main base. Again, bob overcharge is still going, so it's not going to, or I'm not going to be able to do too much damage here. Eventually wears off and I go back to the natural. And since there's significantly less bobs in this area, I can use my fiends to just poke them. And I'm going to be focusing down one of them since he is using the repair to prevent the bobs from going down too quickly here. And also, as the game was progressing, I was continuing to build brutes, and then I was splitting them off across the map and just allowing the fiends, or using the fiends to get across the map a little bit faster here. He places his lancer in a really good spot so I can't get a surround on it, so instead I go for the bobs that are mining the Ethereum. And the fiends are just going to continue to poke, but again, bob overcharge is going to be popped again, so I can't really do too much damage on top of these bobs, and by doing so, he's buying himself a lot of time. One of the bobs was misrallied, and I'm able to get a surround on these lancers, and again, they don't have their upgrade quite yet, so they're not going to be trading too great with the fiends yet. I'm going to be getting a surround, and I'm also going to try and poke this specific bob down. The pathing of the fiends wasn't too great there, and it doesn't even look like I get the bob, unfortunately. He did a nice job repairing, and because of it, I lost a lot of my fiends there. Going to be trying to surround this lancer. I tried to micro my weak fiends back, but my micro is very bad, so it is what it is. Going to get a partial surround on the lancer, but unable to finish it off. Going to be using the fiends to poke some of the bobs again, and this time the lancer is going to be going down. But as I'm running out of units here and not being able to produce too much, I think that I'm probably going to be going back home here not too long. In the meantime, I've been teching up, going up to Conclave, getting a lot of gas here as well. Going to continue to poke for a little bit, I guess. I do have 1 brute, although I really shouldn't be able to do too much. Fiend micro is not on point as one of the fiends gets picked off by the Lancer. Fiend going to be poking into the natural, but once again Bob overcharge is popped, so I can't really get too much more damage. I do see that he has a fair amount of bobs, and he's going to be ramping up his barracks production as well. And because of it, I don't really think that I could do too much. I think once I scout this, I should start going back, because realistically, I can't really do too much here. I should be going back. I get concerned for my Hexen there, so I do a little bit of micro to bring the brutes forward, protect the Hexen a little bit, and now I'm going to just be running back, yeah, because there's really nothing I can do. In the meantime, got full natural saturation. I was using my Animus to pump out imps, I believe, a little bit. I might have. Going to be doing a little bit of micro here. Pop the flower with my Hexen in order to heal it up. A little bit of sloppy micro here as I was just trying to macro up back at home, I believe. So this Skull of Shadow was just automatically popped because I have it on autocast because I didn't want to I didn't want to micro it too much. And in the meantime, also going to be tacking up to Ritual Chamber, going to be going for the Hellforge as well. I'm really a fan of Soulforge Ascendance, which allows the brutes to split into 3 fiends, just because the fiends are just so powerful. They're essentially Zerglings, and who would not want 3 Zerglings from 1 brute? Can use them for run-bys, can use them for surrounds, and they're just overall very, very strong. I tried to open up the production tab, but we still don't have that feature quite yet in the Stormgate replays. Going to be popping down my 3rd shrine, and we're just going to be doing a little dance, a dancey dance. I'm going to be pulling back. Jay's going to try and stutter step to poke. Lancers outrange brutes by a tiny amount, so they can technically poke brutes in permanently and never take any damage. Going to be mixing in some gaunts, so he can't really do that anymore, but he does have kinetic redirection, so whenever he takes damage, his units are a little bit faster, attack a little bit faster as well here. Going to be continuing to produce imps and gaunts here, and we're just buying time until this shrine goes up, and once it does, then I can use some of the saved up Animus in order to pop down a Shroud Stone. I could have also just used one of my imps to plop a regular Shroud Stone as well here. But I have really bad foresight. I probably should have just done that. I could have saved a lot of Animus and then pumped out even more imps. Jay in general is a very aggressive player whenever I've fought him in the past. He's going to be promoting his 2 Exos, and I believe promotion... Oh, it does increase damage a little bit, I forgot. But it also, for the Exo, has bonus range as well. With the Shroud Stone popped down, it doesn't look like he's going to be able to push anymore, so I'm pretty happy defending for now. I didn't realize he was transitioning over to my natural until around this point. I was watching the minimap, I was like, oh no, I'm out of position, so I have to run all my units all the way from this location to my natural, so he's going to be able to get some poking damage in as well. Fellhawk goes down, going to be reducing my supply a little bit. The Lancers are going to be poking here. And my gaunts were in the front, so a couple of them are going to take a lot of damage. One gets picked off very easily. And ideally you don't want to lose too many units because of the veterancy for Vanguard units, but for the time being I'm pretty fine just doing a little back and forth micro dance because I'm going to Twilight Spire and I'm also getting to Shadow Cleft, which is going to allow me to get the Harbingers to eventually get the Seismic Slam upgrade, which allows the Harbingers to stun when they descend. But it's quite high tech, so I can't do that quite yet. Do have the Harbinger here, and I'm now starting Seismic Slam, so it is on the way. It's a pretty short upgrade as well. It doesn't take very long to research. It's only 50-50 Luminite and Therium, so a very cheap upgrade. And it also increases the Shroud radius. They recently changed that as well for the Harbingers, so it gives a lot of Shroud, which is nice as well, because Shroud is great. It's one of the best things about Infernal, getting that extra health regen in battles, especially. A bit of a miss rally. The Brute is going to die here. And I still don't have Seismic Slam. He pokes the Harbinger a little bit, makes it lose all of its white health. The Lancers are going to be charging in, and I'm really just buying time. This was a bit of a misstep by me. I shouldn't have been pushing out this far. And again, the missed rallies, which is a bit sloppy on my end. But going to be getting another Harbinger here. And the upgrade has finished, so now it can stun. I do realize this, so I send my Harbinger forward. And I think there was no place for it to land here, because I was definitely spamming the button, so it unfortunately didn't work out too great at the beginning of the game. But I do have another Harbinger here, so going to be landing it on top of the Exos. Going to be landing it again. You can lift it. The cooldown for the ascend and descend is extremely short, so just going to be continuing to use these Harbingers here to stun whenever I can. Trying to use the high ground here as well to avoid giving the Exos the vision of it to pick it off while I'm chasing him as well. Stun on top of the Lancers. Another ascend, but he's again picking them off very nicely, so I can't do too much more damage here. Going to be forced to retreat, but in the meantime, just pumping out more imps and eventually saturating my third base here. Jay has also picked up his third base as well, throwing in more barracks, and this is pretty normal Vanguard play with just mass Exo with Lancer. I was able to use some of the Animus to pump out a ton more Gaunts as well, because I figured they were probably going to be the key to doing damage in this game. They don't do too great versus Lancers, but they're probably the best thing versus small amounts of Exos here. Going to be grabbing the Watchtower, and unfortunately I didn't grab the Luminite Tower very quickly. I probably could have split off a Brood or two in order to do so, especially since I thought I was building Soulforge Ascendants. Or it could just be a bug, because there was a bug last patch where when you got the upgrades for your Brutes, it didn't show up in this UI, so that actually could just still be happening right now. I had an Infernal versus Infernal game where my opponent was going for 1 base 3 Vault Brute, and I didn't know that he had the upgrade, and the only way I was able to notice was that he had 3 Fiends. So I was specifically looking for this. I guess I could have looked at the armor of them as well. But anyway, going to be pushing into the third base here. Just floating the Harbingers in the back. Again, don't want them to get picked off too easily. And going to be picking off the third base because his units were out of position. And this is again one of the nice things about the Harbingers is that they can stun a ton of Lancers. Lancers do a lot of damage, especially with kinetic redirection. And my micro wasn't super good here. I could have lifted and probably stunned a couple of more times. With Bob Overcharge, I think I slightly overextended here as well, because I believe that Bob Overcharge allows Bobs to trade 1-for-1 with a Brute, which is pretty insane. Bob Overcharge is pretty good. And I also thought these were like small trees, so I thought my Gaunts could fit through them, but they definitely could not. So going to be retreating with whatever units that I can, going to be expanding to a 4th base and a 5th base because I have a ton of money because my macro is garbage. I did throw down additional Conclaves and Iron Vaults, but it just wasn't enough. I actually don't know the proper amount to get, just because you have a lot of fallback mechanics in the Animus to just pump out a bunch of units whenever you want to as well. And in the meantime, going to be producing more Harbingers. I have only a small amount. The problem with doing a Harbinger type strategy is that they take a lot of gas. It's 150 gas and 100 Luminite, I believe, which is the same as a Weaver if I'm not mistaken, so they're pretty pricey. This shrine is going to be picked off. I did not cancel, and I also wasn't really paying attention to it, if I'm being completely honest. I was just trying to save up for the dragon at this point because I do have my Elder Shrine up. Lancers and Exos are going to be just repositioning and going to my third base at this point. I also need to work on my vision across the map because I definitely don't have very good positioning of my units here. Luckily for me, I built a bunch of meat farms, which is buying me some time, as well as this Shroud Stone. Don't want my dragon to be picked off. I miss my breath with the dragon as well. He does see that I have a bunch of Harbingers again, so he's going to be splitting off a bunch of his units. Going to be stunning off a handful of Exos. One of the Harbingers gets picked off without being able to do anything. Going to be lifting and dropping? Maybe not. Not entirely sure. This is a bit of a whiff. But I was just having a really hard time using it effectively. So with the dragon here, the trades are going to be going a lot better. Eventually get a nice seismic slam on top of a bunch of the lancers. And because we have the dragon, every one of the infested units is going to be taking or granting an additional fiend for myself. And because of it, the fiends are starting to snowball here. Huge infest on top of all of the Exos. And we're just chasing him down. He targets down the Harbinger, so I can't stun on the retreat anymore. But at this point, we have quite a big numbers advantage. Going to be using the inhale poison ability from the dragon in order to do a little bit of burst damage on top of all the Lancer and Exo Ball. And a few of my units got caught here because they wanted to target the bobs from the low ground, but eventually going to be fixing that up. Fiends are going to be surrounding the last few surrounding units here, eventually going to be moving my Gaunts into position. Built a couple of Shadow Flyers on accident because I'm pretty sure I was trying to build a Harbinger here. And GG is called. So, very fun game. I could have been doing a lot of things better. One of the main things was using the Seismic Slam a little bit nicer. And I was also talking with people and thinking about trying to get a little bit more gas. I could have gotten this base and gotten the double gas here, and if I had the double gas, then I could have definitely afforded to load a few imps and use flame imps in the Harbingers as well. And it only takes like one good slam with flame imps, and then you can pretty much just snowball the game from there. But yeah. This is a very fun game, the first game that I've tried using Harbinger stuns, and I hope you guys all enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys later.